People in the City, and it's located on the corner of Wellington Street and Queens Avenue. And it's an interesting piece because it captures and it signifies historically highly significant people that had an impact in the creation of the city of London, Ontario. So People in the City was installed in 1991, and it was designed by Stuart Reid, who actually grew up in London, and Doreen Balabanoff. And they refer to this artwork as a civic monument. The central figure of this artwork is a cross-section of two profiles, one of them being an embodiment of an Indigenous person, which acknowledges Canada's Indigenous heritage. And the other is John Graves Simcoe, the first Lieutenant Governor of Upper Canada, which acknowledges Canada's English heritage.
Both artists actually studied architecture, and they trained in the discipline of stained glass artisanship. They even created stained glass artworks for the Metropolitan United Church, which is just a block away from this particular artwork itself. So it's not surprising that People and the City embodies a theatrical aesthetic that is reminiscent of Gothic paintings and relief carvings.
If you go to the east side of Wellington Street, you can actually see a map that indicates a kind of categorization of each window, and it has all the names of the figures that are represented. So, for example, on the top two windows, we have windows that are set for Indigenous peoples and early settlers. And in the middle, there are windows that feature people who are known in the fields of politics and law and religious leaders and service and activism and humanitarians. And then the bottom six windows encompass people celebrated for their excellence in fields such as philanthropy, research, education, business, industry, labor, sports, entertainment, and of course the arts. They get the last window, but they got a window nonetheless.
That's good, yes. Reid actually grew up in London, and he had heard so many stories about famous and infamous Londoners. But he also noticed that, that mainstream or popular narrative vehicles of London, such as the Illustrated History of London, contained no stories about the contribution of
which
women.
I have just right here, too. It's right here.
Oh, that's a big book.
It's a big book.
Yeah, I guess it's a good read, hopefully. But a book like that, The Illustrated History of London, it contained no stories or the contributions of women and Indigenous people. And it's for this reason as to why the first window right at the top holds space for the Indigenous people, specifically the neutrals who resided in and around this land and took care of it before Western contact. It is also for this reason as to why he and Balabanoff created categories such as philanthropists and humanitarians, because as Balabanoff said, and I quote, "Historical records prove that it was women who supervised social services in society, and in London it was no different. Women historically played a huge role in providing humanitarian, healing, and education."